have had a bunch of people ask to hear what school and life was like for me growing up. Well, I got kicked out of daycare because I would battle kids who didn't see things the way I did. Preschool and kindergarten, I just played all day. I flunked first grade because what the teacher was saying did not interest me. It was in one ear, not the other. I even got screamed at until the teacher figured out it was a lost cause. My report cards read, "He sits there like a lump on a log," and it's like talking to the wall. I was interested in the school's chairs and trains. My dad took me to watch trains, and I memorized every locomotive number and what all the signals meant, yet I could not write a single sentence. I was also in Catholic school, and my religion book had a picture of the kingdom of heaven on it, and the castle was incomplete. So I drew cranes and construction equipment in perfect detail on it every day, and I added more and more to the kingdom of heaven until it was complete. This was also the time my teacher said satisfactory to other students, and I pictured a factory with smokestacks that made satis. Second year of first grade, a teacher worked with me, and I made it to second grade. That year when I was in second grade, my picture was in the paper 3 times, and even on the cover once, while none of my other 30 classmates made it on there once. My parents took me to events around the community, and the photographers for the newspaper noticed my activities right away and took my picture. Third grade was another battle, and fourth grade I switched to public school, where I was introduced to bad behavior, bullying, kids with step-parents, and just bad kids in general. And I learned the same thing year after year and barely got anywhere in high school. I never went to a single dance or party. I was always in my room tearing things apart, studying them and fixing them to see how they worked. My parents could never ground me because I did nothing kids my age did. I hardly ever left my room, and when my parents wanted me to go out in the community, I went no questions asked. I liked Boy Scouts a lot, had a lot of fun camping and hiking. I even did a 150-mile charity bike ride 10 years in a row. I was riding 40 to 50 miles every other day during nice weather those summers. One of the nicest, longest bike trails in the country was practically in my backyard. Most high school and middle school classes went in one ear and out the other. Home economics was a total waste because my mom made me cook everything I ate all my life, and I stitched my own Halloween costumes every year. The only real skill I learned in high school was drafting and design, where I was introduced to engineering, and at Votech I studied to be a lineman because it was one of the only classes that interested me the most, and really it was the only thing I could focus on at the time, and that's what got me into electricity. And while I was still in high school, I took night classes at Votech covering residential wiring, industrial wiring, radio, blueprint reading and sketching, CAD 1 and 2, and welding. Then out of high school, I studied to be a computer service technician for 2 years. I went off to electrician school where I graduated and passed several employment tests. Unfortunately, I lost 6-figure job offers because I don't drive because of my autism and the bullies that scared me off the road when I was a kid. I'm doing videos online as a job now and starting to go places with them. I also tend to sit in front of the TV with it off, and people laugh and say, "You're watching a blank screen." But what they don't realize is I'm visualizing and designing projects in my head like they are in AutoCAD, and I'm able to see how they work and test them in my mind. When it comes to cell phones, I use mine once or twice a month. I can't text and I don't have an iPad. There's not been one video game system in my house since Sega Genesis came out in the 90s. I just do not have any interest in video games whatsoever. I have a basic laptop, standard digital camera, and software that only lets me trim and splice videos 5 at a time. And most of my time is spent on projects and producing, shooting, editing, and uploading videos. One thing that does get to me is making friends. That has always been an issue for me. These days, I only go to the store and doctor's appointments, so it's basically impossible to meet and make new friends. And this online stuff is not any better. I don't handle negativity, especially when I say 2 polite words to someone, and they act bothered and block me. My life has been nearly destroyed by someone named Kristen. I'm trying to deal with it as much as I can, and it may end up in a video someday, but I don't know yet. I have to talk to her first. Anyway, these people do this to me while they have no idea that, to this day, I have bullies stalking me. Even after I move to a new house, these guys followed me, and I can't go outside. Really, I don't know why I let these bullies bother me, because those guys can't even say my name right. When they say something to me, they miss the mark by a mile. Not to mention, All I've ever seen them do in a sports car is rev the engine and do sloppy burnouts and skids all over the road. And they also live in a dump of old pickup trucks. It's like, you guys do realize I've been to the Indy 500 over 25 times. I also go to sports car races, and I have friends that drove in the ARCA and NASCAR Xfinity series that treat driving a $1 million race car on the weekend like a normal person collecting stamps. Really, production cars do not impress me, because production car guys are the only ones who crash in parades, and they can't even make it to the green flag in one piece. Yet, to be honest, I see Formula cars and other races that day that are like change compared to a production Corvette that handle much better and corner almost twice as fast. Here's my history with racing. My grandparents drove race cars with Paul Newman and Chip Ganassi, and trust me, if I had a license and a good job, I'd be up there too, driving with those drivers like that. I worked flagging when Ari Lyndyke Jr. and Graham Ray Hall attended their first driver's school, taking their first laps in a real race car. My grandfather even brought seatbelts into sports car racing along with Jackie Stewart. You bet I'm watching the Daytona 500 on Sunday, always, despite the TV network and Mr. France screwing over the race fans every time. I'm not going to do a video about that because of the copyright risk. Yeah, I'm not the kind of person to ask the pros for autographs, and if I had to, I'm really not the type of person to sign an autograph or hold a conversation with. I do realize I'm doing things with my videos and projects that are the equivalent to what they are doing on the track or field. I'm like Tesla, rarely sleeping and roaming around, finding myself a mile from home at 3 in the morning looking for plastic chairs on trash day, and building and designing stuff all the time. Although I never plan anything ahead, these ideas just jump out at me, and it's a pain while I'm trying to sleep because I got to build it when I think of it, or it'll never get built. There's times I also don't take a break or eat. I'll just go until I'm done, or I run out of ideas and move on to something else. My record is 3 days in a row building something. I'll also struggle with tasks. Give me one thing to do and it never gets done. Give me 100 tasks and I'll do them all right, then and totally perfect. My family on both sides is full of engineers of all types. I have an uncle on my mom's side that was a great inventor. He made some household items. My family even has its own engineering college called Ropar IMT in the country where we came from. I unfortunately never had the privilege to attend engineering school. Although you've seen my builds, that's skill that can't be taught or learned. It's something you have to be born with. Really, at this point, I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going. So there's an inside look at my life. Well, thanks for watching. Please subscribe and be careful in the real world. Tooth for an auger that digs a hole in the ground. You got some 4-aught conductor, Mars human habitat, you got a Tesla coil, you got an airplane, and you got the Eiffel Tower. The air surrounding the Eiffel Tower and the glass would be heavier than the real one, if that was up in scale.